Welcome to Fight Night Hearthstone Edition, featuring some of the top players from around the world. With $15,000 of prize money on the line, who will go home the Hearthstone champion? This is Fight Night.
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Hearthstone Fight Night Season 5. Tonight is episode 4, where Artosis, the team captain, will try to close it out versus Chakki, a newcomer. What's going to happen? We'll see. Take a look at yesterday's highlight. We have Nyx versus Reels.
Now, Nyx actually hasn't won a match yet at Fight Night.
Global level, I think I'm probably top 5.
We have not just a good chance to win, but I would like to think that we are going to win.
He's got a life tap.
He's got the...
Oh, okay. Well, that's it.
Buffed it.
And it looks like Nyx's gonna take game number 1. Okay, so he actually has enough for the kill, right? Yep, he does. He can silence one, lightning bolt the other, double rock biter, wind fury. Does he have enough? Yeah, he has plenty of mana for that.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Wait, he still has enough mana to do it, right? No, he doesn't. No, he's now off from doing it. Oh, wow. Now, Nyx actually hasn't won a match yet at Fight Night.
You missed me first!
It looks like Nyx is going to get his first win at Fight Night. And it's going to be 3-0 against Reels.
Hearthstone is a 1v1 digital card game developed by Blizzard Entertainment, the company behind famous franchises such as StarCraft, Diablo, and the World of Warcraft series. Currently in the Hearthstone beta, you have the choice between 9 hero classes, akin to the Warcraft counterparts: Warrior, Shaman, Rogue, Paladin, Hunter, Druid, Warlock, Mage, and Priest. Each class has its own unique set of cards that you can choose to customize, as well as a unique hero power that you can use once per turn. Each player chooses 30 cards before the match. This format is often called constructed, and is considered the primary form of competition in any collectible card game. Hearthstone is turn-based. Both players take separate turns to play their cards. You can play as many cards as you want, but be careful not to run out and be completely hopeless. The first person to have their opponent hit 0 health is declared the winner. With over 450 cards currently in the beta alone, Hearthstone offers an array of opportunities to build neat strategies and deck themes oriented around various playstyles. Similar to other strategy games, there is no one deck to rule them all. It comes down to who prepares the best and who gets the draws. Now let's meet the players. From Team Managrind, Reels, Dark Onyx, Chakki, and Forsen. From Team DogeHouse, Nyx, Savish, Artosis, and ECOP.
Hey everybody, welcome to Fight Night Season 5, Episode 4. My name is Frodan, and I'm joined at desk with Reels, who just had his match last night. And we figured, why not have a chance to commentate some of the matches and get some fresh faces on the desk.
Artosis is playing in this one, so there's an open seat on the desk. I'm glad to fill it for now. Hopefully my teammate will do better than I did last night.
And this time it's going to be Chakki versus Artosis. We talked a little bit about last night, but you think Chakki is one of the best players in North America. You have a lot of confidence in him.
Chakki's really fantastic. He performs really consistently on the ladder. He makes great plays, and I really want to see what he can do in this match.
All right, well, he's going to need to, because Artosis also is known to make some big plays, whether positive or negative, at Fight Night, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Before we do that, let's go to the couch and see what the players are up to.
Thanks, guys. It's Nimsh, and I'm here with the DogeHouse team. Apparently, we're winning, so I came down here to check what's going on. Yesterday, Nyx apparently won, so Max, how are you feeling about yesterday?
I'm feeling pretty good about yesterday's win. I had a pretty tough opponent with Reels, performing really well online on the ladder and in the Ihasu King of the Hill. So taking him down 3-0 was really surprising and felt really good.
Yeah, so Shaman definitely is like an MVP deck right now.
Yeah, Shaman is probably one of my favorite classes, and I'm glad I won all my games playing Shaman.
Cool, and Jan, you started the series with 3-0, like congrats man, it's a good start. So how do you feel about it?
Obviously pretty good, man. I mean, Shaman going strong. I win 3-0, Max wins 3-0. and hopefully Janne and Dan can also go 3-0,
Janne
right?
had some good games, man, but tough luck. I'm sure we'll perform better. So now everything's is in the hands of Artosis. And
no pressure, friend.
Yeah, no pressure, but we hope you will win this. Yeah, so let's have a good match.
All right, so you've heard a little bit of our thoughts. Let's hear what the players had to say about each other.
My name is Dan Artosis Stemkowski. I'm 30 years old, and I'm an American living in Seoul, South Korea, playing for Team DogeHouse. Well, as team captain for DogeHouse, I'm kind of like a leader for the team. I keep everyone on track a little bit. You know, I make sure that we gather all our decks in the same place, that we're constantly talking about what's going on, that we're kind of being smart about how we prepare for events. And I do some play testing for the various decks that they put in. And you know, like if there's suddenly a priest deck that pops up, I'll take that bullet and play it a whole bunch. Or you know, if someone's playing around with a mage deck, I'll play with it and give my feedback. So I help in those regards, but I don't really do anything like deck building or anything like that. My favorite decks to play are various paladin decks and priest decks, and sometimes some mage decks as well. I really enjoy playing like less popular decks and trying to figure out how to make them work, which you know doesn't always work out for me, but I find it to be really fun. I think the team can get down on itself a little bit when people start losing matches. I've seen it before in the team when we're all talking at the couch in between games and whatnot, that people get frustrated because they are all really dedicated and passionate players that put in a lot of time. And you know that really comes through when they're getting upset that, you know, oh, maybe this draw didn't go my way, or oh, maybe this coin flip didn't go my way. But you know, I think that everyone is really maturing a lot, they're getting a lot of experience, and that's going to be less and less a factor going into the future. I think DogeHouse is certainly one of the best teams in the world. I really respect the play of all the players, as well as the deck building and a lot of the choices that they make on what decks to actually end up playing in a tournament. I don't know that it's necessarily the best team, because it is a much smaller team than a lot of these other ones, so it's harder to get more ideas and more variety and really as many statistics for our play testing. But I'm very happy with it, and I think it's definitely a team that can and will end up beating all the other teams. I definitely don't consider myself one of the absolute best players in the world. I think I'm a very strong player when I get to practice a fair amount, especially with decks that I'm very comfortable with. When I'm playing against a player that I have no idea how he plays, I feel actually okay about it, because I know that I can just play my normal standard play and not think too deeply about it. You know, sometimes you can run yourself in circles. Like for instance, if I play against Trump, he's someone I've played so many times in tournaments that I may overthink the way he's going to play and make a mistake when I think I'm being really meta or really clever. So it kind of makes me sit back and just rely on the fundamentals that I have to try to beat my opponent. Chakki, I don't know that much about overall. I know that he's a much younger player, and I know that he was one of the first players to really create the Wind Fury Shaman type of archetype. So definitely I'm going to be watching out for that with him, but as far as his skill level goes, I'm not completely sure where he ranks within the team. Reels speaks very highly of him, so I assume he has to be very good, but right now for me, I have to put him in 4th.
Hi, I'm Keaton Gill. My in-game name is Chakki, and I play for Team Managrind. As a team, I mean, it's kind of a new experience for us completely, but you know, we all kind of get along and stuff, and it's been a good experience so far. So Managrind as a team, you know, we kind of just get on like a voice chat program about every day, and you know, we just talk about, you know, our experiences in the game and what we think about stuff. And generally we come to some conclusions based off that and try to all play, you know, what we think is the best. Well, the Managrind guys that are here, they all kind of like to play more control-y styles, so they kind of put me on aggro decks in a sense, but not really. So it's been good. So Team DogeHouse, I mean, they've done pretty well on the ESGN Fight Nights before. And I mean, they're all really strong players as far as laddering and just in tournaments in general. So, I mean, I respect them as players, and I think they'll put up a good fight. Well, I think it's kind of a stretch to say DogeHouse doesn't really know us. I'm sure they've kind of looked into us and we've had some results and stuff that is public and some of us stream, so I don't think it's as big of an advantage as it seems, but it is one at that, since they've been to 2 fight nights. So I've thought about, who I'd want to be paired against a bit, and I really didn't have an answer because I have no say in the matter, so I might as well just go in expecting to face anyone. I feel like the weakest player that I've seen from the past 2 fight nights was Artosis, because of the few mistakes he's made in games that have really costed him. I haven't seen anything like that from the other members, but so there's a few aspects of being really good at Hearthstone. I mean, deck building is one, but I think that's sort of minor. As far as like at tournaments, I think knowing your opponent is a huge thing, knowing what they might play, what they tend to do, and just playing mechanically solid, like playing the best plays all the time is a really important factor.
I think a good Hearthstone player is going to be someone who can play mechanically almost flawlessly, think out the turns, make no mistakes, but also think a little bit deeper than that. What is his opponent playing like? What types of cards could be coming up? What types of situations could be bad for him? I think you have to think outside the box a little bit in Hearthstone to be the best player that you can be.
So I actually think it'll be something like 3-2, 3-2 for the seasons.
I think the results between Managrind and DogeHouse is going to be really, really close. In fact, I think it's going to probably be 3-2 and 3-2 with each team taking a match. I think all the players are just too good and too good at building decks to have it go any other way.
So here are the rules for Fight Night Hearthstone Edition. 8 players form 2 teams and battle it out 4v4. 2 team captains spin the heartless ESGN wheel, which will determine the matchups. Now the battle begins. In order to win, the player has to beat all 3 of his rivals' decks. After all the players have battled solo, it's time for the final ace match. All 4 players on each team unite in a grand showdown to find out who is the strongest. Ultimately, the stakes are high. Teams can win as much as $5,000 for crushing their opponents. If one team manages to go even further and clean sweep their opponents, the winners will receive a huge bonus reward of $5,000 on top. Stay tuned for more Fight Night.
Wow, such fight night. Much players, many production value, very professional.
So this soup's pretty good though, man.
Yeah, I gotta go now. I have some friends coming over soon, so... Yeah, alright. I love you too, Mom. Bye. Oh, that's gotta be Trump. Good thing I have those delicious cookies ready.
This just in. Ekop is a nice guy.
ESGN TV's daily news. Just watch.
Welcome back to Fight Night.
Alright, so as you can see, DogeHouse currently has $500 for 2 wins, Managrind $250. Rios, we're about to get ready for our first match. Do you have any predictions of how this is going to go down?
I'm hoping Chakki will be able to tie it up 2-2. A little biased, of course. I'll predict 3-1.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, Nimsh hosted the beginning of the show and he was rooting for his doggies. You're pulling for your Managrinders. I think it's going to be really close as well. The first match is going to be Warrior versus Rogue. Chakki going for the Warrior. Artosis starting another series with his Warrior deck. I'm a little scared for this one.
I don't know if there will be any exact repeats, but who knows?
History and the present will only tell. Let's get ready for the first game between Artosis and Chakki. All right, so first game's about to get underway. Now this is again a rogue that's not necessarily typical of what you would normally see on ladder. On ladder nowadays, it's very popular to have a miracle rogue where you cast a lot of spells, not really have a lot of minion focus. Talk to me a little bit about this rogue deck.
Well, the most common rogue deck that is a more aggressive type, other than the miracle deck, has been Murlocs. This is something that we put together and ended up having a great amount of success with both in testing and on ladder. Rogues is definitely not Murlocs. I'm thinking of Warlock, but regardless, this is still something that we put together and did pretty well. It's something that another one of our Managrind teammates.
I thought you were like revealing to me a new strategy. I was like, what? No. You guys play Rogue Murloc? That's insane.
Rogue Murlocs could possibly be sick. We'll have to go back to the drawing board on that one once we get home, but
definitely haven't been tested out enough for Fight Night. First play for Chakki has been a coin Nat Pagel. Definitely been the center of a lot of controversy, especially after, I believe it was day 2's matches between Savige and Dark Wanix, drawing a lot for Dark Wanix.
Yeah. Nat Pagel is definitely under fire, and within the community, and something that, we may continue to see. I think it's a little justified in the sense that, from the competitive standpoint of the game, it can have, an artificial RNG effect that goes beyond what you might normally see in a card game, where, of course, you're drawing randomly off the top of a deck, but, it's something that's built directly into the card, and, that can be pretty tough. He's making a super aggressive play.
Wow! And not even going for the damage onto Nat Pagel to guarantee damage this turn, but instead using it for the Argent Squire. Talking a little bit about this play here, Reels.
Well, he's playing against a warrior, and warriors usually need to deal damage, of course, to be able to kill something. It's not like he has access to an Earth Shock or anything like that, or a Shadow Word Pain, or Shadow Word Death, I guess it would be now, despite being on that, lowly Argent Squire. Not so lowly anymore. 5 attack coming in on Artosis can definitely start putting the hurt on.
It's a Scarlet Crusader with an old school Dark Iron Dwarf buff as far as I'm concerned. That's extremely intimidating to face. Now Artosis is flirting with the idea of just putting down the Frothing Berserker, but I don't really see a better alternative play here. He has 2 shield slams but no armor to capitalize on it.
Yeah, I imagine he's hoping that Chakki will run the Squire in there and be able to take it out on the next turn. That isn't going to be Chakki's only option, though, and as we're seeing here, he might try to take it out and keep that Squire with the shield on.
That's right, and then just start, again, the whole point of a deck like this is to exert tempo onto the board, and looks like Nat Pagel does end up getting a draw on the second turn here.
Yeah,
the third turn, rather.
If Nat Pagel continues to survive and pick up any more cards, it's not going to, there won't be any punish, really, for having made such an aggressive play onto the Squire.
Now, at this state, and you really feel very upset with having the Pagel there, but you also have to deal with the second threat of the Argent Squire. Do you feel, what would you do in this position here, Reels? Because it's very tough. Artosis doesn't have the mana he would like to do everything.
Yeah, he's really in a tough spot. If he were on 5 mana, his turn would look a lot better. He's really in a tough spot being on 4. He needs to sort of pick and choose, which sort of angle he wants to attack first, the card draw or the immediate damage. The safe play would be to sort of try to knock out the immediate damage as best as he possibly can. He might even end up using 2 cards here for it. Let's see what he does.
Oh, wow, and I think that's exactly it. He needs to deal with this threat, and that is a very valuable cold blood that's been put on the Argent Squire.
Yeah, it got a good amount of damage in. Both of the shield slams are gone, which is Artosis' most efficient removal spell in the whole deck. So if Chakki can find any, mid-range threats here, Artosis might have a difficult time dealing with them.
Mm-hmm. And from this point on, the play from Chakki is pretty limited. He could just pretty much drop the Loot Hoarder and don't think he wants to burn the weapon charge here for the Deadly Poison, just kind of pass. Meanwhile, I think Artosis definitely is a little frustrated, but I don't think his position is nearly as bad as it would have seemed if he couldn't deal with that Argent Squire. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's really not too bad. He's not terribly far behind. That turn 4 was not as good as Chakki would have liked it. He just picked up another draw of Pagel, which was the Dark Iron Dwarf he wished he had in hand just moments before.
Mm-hmm. That's always funny how it works that way. And now Artosis draws the Armor Smith, a very valuable card. He does have the cool Taskmaster to also be able to pick off that Loot Hoarder if he wants to.
Yeah, the continuation of the game here, he's going to use the Cruel Taskmaster to take out the Loot Hoarder. Oh. He's even going to use the Execute to take out Nat Pagel. He's had enough.
And you know what? Some people might feel like, well, first of all, it's a very valuable Pagel, and you don't feel like it's very efficient. But if you know you're playing against a rogue that has a lot, that wants to go for the tempo game, that wants to get the board control and be able to start pushing a lot of minions on it, it's really important that you're able to also retaliate and make sure the rogue never gets the opportunity to set up. And so if you use things like Shield Slam on a small minion, it's not necessarily the worst compared to when you're playing like a Druid who might have a big health minion, and you feel like you need to gather up a Shield Slam for something like that.
Yeah, the thing is, though, that, there's basically, at least one more turn here before Baron Geddon comes down and another turn before Ragnaros. Chakki gets almost completely a free turn to advance his board coming up. So, it really just that Fiery War Axe that he just drew, if he can, get some, real value out of it, if he can, you can use it right now to trade off and keep it alive for next turn. I'm not sure if that's what he's going to do, but it certainly is possible.
What do you think about including Baron Geddon? Because Warrior is a deck people kind of joke around. The control version is very pay to win because it's so legendary heavy.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at Artosis' deck. There's a lot of stars in it.
A lot of stars.
What do you think about including a card like Baron Geddon, though? It's at a very awkward mana slot of 7, which a lot of decks don't really like to play with too much.
I really like the card Baron Geddon. I think that it's not good in all the meta games, but so far in all of the nights that we've had, that we've seen, there hasn't been a single Hunter deck, and that's usually one of the cards that keeps Baron, or one of the decks that keeps Baron Geddon out of people's lists.
Yeah, even though it is great at dealing with aggro, it's a little bit too late behind the punch because of all the chargers as well. Turn number 6 is a very logical one for Chakki. He just wants to continue to put pressure. He has 2 Argent Commanders. Why not drop 1? And that leaves Artosis to be able to drop potentially the Baron and be able to... Ooh, well, never mind. He doesn't have the mana to do that, but he can still pop the shield, play the Baron, and wipe it off the board.
Yeah, I mean, he makes the obvious play. He doesn't have very many other options, and it actually works out really well. The Argent Commander nerf from a million years ago coming pretty significantly into play here.
A million years ago.
Oh, but Chakki draws the second cold blood of the deck, and he's going to be able to kill the Baron Geddon right away.
Oh, he's hesitating. Okay, well, I wasn't sure if he was going to go for the phase, but at that point, now the board control once again belongs to Artosis. The action's been pretty fast and furious. We're talking about some of the individual card choices, but we're already on turn 16, I believe, and it's already been very, very, very quick.
Yeah, it's Artosis' 8th turn individually, and I don't think there's anything he's going to do besides slam Ragnaros here, cross his fingers, and hope that it hits that Argent Commander. If it ends up hitting Chakki's face, the game will be all but over.
So now, essentially, from Artosis, then you're saying he has to Tink Master this, or you're saying
I don't think he'll Tink Master. I think it's unlikely that he'll Tink Master. Either way, he's flipping a coin, and one of them actually, seems like it could possibly lead to victory, having Ragnaros sitting there in a Tink Master ready for what comes next. If he plays the Tink Master, he's not really,
his follow-up play would be even worse than what the Ragnaros.
It could be much worse. Right now, it's a 50-50 shot to kill the most important thing in play with Ragnaros, and on any subsequent turn, there could be 2 or 3 minions in play that could muddy it up.
And it's still extremely tough because there are lots of answers from the Rogue deck to be able to do something like that if they draw something like the BGH. But Artosis ends up going for the Tink Master, and he doesn't get the role he needed. The Devilsaur is the one he ends up landing on.
Well, he's got that 5/5 in play now, and he has a lot of damage available. He has 8 mana. And he might even have, he has to deal 15. I don't think he'll be able to deal 15.
No.
But he's just going to advance his board. He's going to clear out the minion of his opponent, make sure that there's no free way to get execute damage onto that Devilsaur.
Execute would be a nice card, but Artosis is staring the face of defeat for the first game. And with 9 mana, I mean, he's going to drop the Rag, but even if he doesn't, we know Artosis is dead either way, even if he lands ideally on the Devilsaur. Artosis will concede game number 1, just like that. Quick first game.
Game number 1 goes to Chakki. He was able to sort of, get a couple cards off of Pagel, everyone's, best friend, some people's most hated friend. They still run him.
Artosis' enemy at this point. I mean,
definitely Artosis' enemy for that game.
Artosis has been very vocal about even banning Pagel for his tournaments, for things like I Hearth You, for even trying to convince us to do it at Fight Night. And I think, how much do you think that Nat Pagel came to play here?
He only picked up a couple cards, but any game where he, sits in play for, 3 or 4 turns ends up being pretty significant.
Exchanging a card like an Execute for drawing 2 or 3 cards on his own. Very good value.
Yeah, I think that, probably the design intention was that, he doesn't have any power. So in a way, when they were thinking about, Novice Engineer, well, he's going to pick up a card on average, 1 every couple turns. Sometimes he'll pick up more. Sometimes he'll pick up less, but, there's the average. And what ends up happening is games like this, and especially like, what we saw a couple nights ago, he stays in play for a lot more than a couple turns. And his impact on the
entire game practically
ends up being really significant.
All right, well, you heard our thoughts. Let's listen into the players and see what they're saying about it.
It was just looking good. It was just getting
and I'm taking 14 from that.
The only thing that
I thought about that, like really briefly, but like I just had nothing to kill it, and there's a very good chance he has something that can ping off the shield and then the 2 kill it.
I would maybe have like not use the cold blood to kill the burn gun, but use your wicked knife for 1 damage. And like you had the HP and the board control to save the cold blood for high lethal or something like that.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's true.
What do you think he's gonna play now? That is Woven deck, so.
Yeah. Oh, he had an axe out or something. Or did he? I know he didn't. But he had mana for it, so he could have that's right. Oh well.
He has his what? Murlocs and Paladin left?
Murlocs and Paladin. Yeah, Paladin, yeah.
You didn't really see my Black Knight or my BG?
Yeah, that's really good. You didn't do that.
Paladin most.
I don't really play much against Paladin, but.
It's some kind of Paladin is running because everybody is running Giants. When he runs a lot of taunts.
Yeah, I hope he's running Giants based off my deck.
Yeah, he might be running.
I think if I go into it and I see the card on my mulligan, I'll keep it. But
I think it's.
Yeah, I think life would just be crazy.
It could be aggro as well. It could be.
Right.
I don't think so though. I think that Nyx and Artosis are running the same control pala.
I think if it was aggro, I think the warrior might have been aggro too.
Yeah, that's it. Good luck, man.
Yep.
Alright, so the second class that Artosis is going to be choosing is Warlock. Now, this is not, well, I was going to say this is not your standard Warlock, but it really feels like it is on ladder, but it's not the Warlock that people used to think about a lot when they thought about the dominance of it. What kind of Murloc are we seeing?
Yeah, I mean, he's bringing a, Murloc Warlock to the table, and, I began the last game, and for some reason my mind was on Warlock, and here it is. Murlocs is right in front of us. It's actually got a lot of interesting choices in his deck list. A lot of things that sometimes you see 2 of, people trying to have, the most of certain cards, and he has a lot of singletons in this deck, and then a couple really interesting choices to try to just be as aggressive as possible.
All right, well, time is up. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen in game number 2. Can Artosis start the comeback, or will Chakki go up 2-0?
See you after the break for more Fight Night.
When I'm not fapping to Top Decken and Reckon, I'm watching Fight Night.